Health and safety is important because, to me, it's a moral issue that people shouldn't be harmed by the work and the activities they carry out. They ought to come in the morning healthy and safe and go home to their families in the evening with the same bits that they came with in the morning.
Just to provide a safe working environment for the guys on site during the day. Make sure we get home in one piece.
It keeps everyone safe on site, no accidents.
You want to come in the morning, go home at night to see your wife, your family, your children.
Health and safety generally on sites is to look after the welfare of everybody who comes and goes from the site. That's people who work here, the visitors, subcontractors, contractors, anybody on site.
We need to protect everybody whilst they're at work, and it's not just about filling out endless reams of paperwork. It's actually taking positive steps forward to protect people whilst they're at work.
It's to protect the employers and protect the workers and just make sure everything's safe and a good environment to work in and everybody gets home safely.
So that's what they think about health and safety rules. You've probably seen dozens of inductions, dozens of videos on dozens of sites. But evidence suggests that accidents happen to workers who knew the risks but chose to ignore them for whatever reason. Whether you're new to the shopfitting and interior contracting business or whether you're an old hand, it makes no difference. You need to know what the risks are and the rules for managing those risks. This video will not tell you about the specific risks that occur on the site that you're on, but what it will do, it'll give you an insight into the general rules that apply on just about every site. So what are those risks and what are the rules for managing them that will keep you and your colleagues safe?
There are numerous rules on site, be it a simple one before you even get there, signing in, signing out whenever you leave, very important.
Obviously PPE, hard hats, vests, boots, and then you've got your specifics like mutes, working at heights and that kind of thing, toe boards, handrails. A lot of common sense really.
Basically good housekeeping, always make sure that you're tidy.
No smoking on site.
A tidy site is a very safe site.
Make sure your tools are in good working order.
Hazards above you, on the floor, all around you basically.
If you're using a grinder, obviously eye protection, ear protection, gloves.
It's a real problem because of the amount of accidents historically in the construction industry anyway, and health and safety is geared up to reduce that. So if anybody doesn't take responsibility seriously, we really don't want them on site.
Well, we're trying to make a site safe so far as is possible by ensuring that all the work processes being undertaken on site are done so in a safe manner. And in order for us to do this, we actually undertake risk assessments to identify the hazards first and what control measures we need to put in place to reduce those hazards and control the risks.
Generally in the shop fitting world there are very tight deadlines and programmed because you've got to hit an end date and that can't be moved. So invariably people want to try and cut corners to make sure they hit the end date because of the pressure. So there is an expectation to deliver on time, and people will often look to cut corners, and that compromises safety and everything else. So we have to be on top of that all the time and look out for it.
You can get everything right from the training, from keeping the site clean and tidy, but if the individual does something stupid, it all goes wrong.
It's really looking at the activity, doing a risk assessment and then making sure that everybody understands the risk assessment and what's required.
It's important to know who your people are on site. I mean, if you've had an incident or an accident, you need to know who to report it to. On the doors when you come in there's a notice board, and it'll also have on there the list of contact names and telephone numbers, so you know it's useful to know that and who to go to if something goes wrong.
It's important to know who the site contact is in case, first of all, there are any injuries, to know who to report them to. Any broken machinery, faulty equipment, again, you've got to know who to report it to so you don't cause any accidents or have an accident yourself.
Basically, if there's any accidents or emergencies or any queries or anything, somebody's got a point to go to, so to voice their opinions, or albeit good or bad at times, but it's just basically so that somebody can go somewhere rather than just have nowhere to go at all.
important that people actually sign in because we need to be able to control the people who are on site. In the case of emergency, we would need to know, if you evacuate the premises, that everybody is accounted for.
Well, if we didn't have a sign-in procedure, just say for instance we did have a fire emergency and we ought to evacuate the building. If we didn't have a sign-in, but we wouldn't have a clue whether everybody's actually off-site or whether some people was left on-site, so it helps when you got the book, go through the procedure, just tick the names off, make sure everybody's safe and everybody's off-site.
PPE is there again for your own safety.
PPE is important to ensure that you actually do not incur minor injuries through the general day-to-day working. Obviously footwear is absolutely essential.
We're not one for making you wear PPE for the sake of wearing it, but where there's a risk, then wear the appropriate equipment.
You've got to check your leads, make sure there's no tears or rips in your leads. Make sure they've been pat tested as well. Make sure there's no problems with any of your tools before you use them, and don't use them for too long a duration if you're using a hammer drill or something like that.
Storage of tools is obviously important to make sure that you don't lose them. They obviously have some significant value, and it's important that they're stored in a safe manner and then don't cause other hazards to other people.
You should be a confident person to use the right tool, and obviously you should be trained on a specific tool to make your job safe and easier.
We've tried now to make sure that we're working less and less from step ladders and ladders and using more towers, scissor lifts and the like.
Right, some of the problems we have, obviously we're working at height, is that we need to prevent people from falling. As you can see, this is obviously an incomplete handrail and we have no kickboard. So the idea is that everybody can check your own handrails and your workspace, make sure that it's safe. Report any incidents like this and hopefully we won't have any injuries. If you have an accident, you must report it. There are accident reporting procedures on site, there's accident forms to be completed, and there's a legal requirement for the companies to actually report certain types of accidents. So therefore it is important that you do record them and report them.
Well, basically it's important to have a first aid on the site, so they've got somebody they can report to with their injury. You can treat it, and obviously it'd be for myself to report it and put it in the first aid book, the injury that they've acquired, and it'll be up to me to report it. Depending on how serious it is. If it's just a cut, it's a plaster, clean it, make sure they're happy with it. If anything serious, let's take them to the hospital.
Clearly marked throughout the site all the emergency escape routes. Follow the green signs all the way till you come into the fire point outside. You must stay there, you must not leave until you're told to do so.
Get yourself out of the building, raise the alarm so people on your way, get to the muster point.
Near misses are also important because they identify that there is a problem that could get worse. So if you do see something, rectify it, don't just leave it for somebody else to have the same problem.
We can learn from them kind of things, it's rather so we can get more proactive than reactive really.
Smoking is not allowed on site whatsoever, only in designated smoking areas.
No alcohol or drugs. Even on prescribed drugs, then we would expect the site manager to be aware of that because some could potentially affect people working at height, for example. So if they smell alcohol on anybody, they'll be invited to leave the site.
The rules on smoking alcohol are no smoking at all, and obviously no drinking of alcohol either before or on site.
Well, in fact makes you don't smoke.
You should know what you should be able to lift. There's a certain way to lift as well, back straight, knees bent. If it's too heavy, then you can always call someone to help you.
Manual handling is not to take risks yourself, to lift correctly and try and always use mechanical aids.
tidy workplace is a safe place. If you keep your workplace nice and clean and tidy, you'll reduce your trip hazards. You've got a nice place to work in.
I do like to keep a clean site. It makes the job twice as easy if you haven't got to mess around with stuff. You can see where you're going and basically turn a good job out easier for the sake of tidying up.
You need to bag up your rubbish and dispose of it on a daily basis. Make sure that it's done so in accordance with centre management rules and that there are adequate waste receptacles for them.
During the course of a day, especially if you're working at a height, mobile phones should not be used at all. Feel free to use them at breaks and dinner times, but on site, it's a no-no.
You've got to have proper light to see what you're doing, and obviously to minimise risk and hazards.
It's essential to have good quality lighting on site so you can actually see where you're going, same again for trips, falls, and same again, just make it a safer workplace and easier. The better the light, the more easier it is to do the job.
Where mechanical vehicles are required on site, they should be their movement should be segregated from pedestrian movement. So wherever possible, make sure that the vehicles being moved are actually being moved in a safe manner and in a safe working area.
Yeah, there should be welfare facilities on site as well. You'll be able to have a cup of tea, toilet, wash your hands, keep clean when you go for your breaks.
We need to have a permit to work to ensure that any hazardous work is actually controlled and that not only the site manager knows what he should be doing on what activity is being undertaken, but also for the subcontractor who knows what control measures need to be in place to actually carry out the work safely.
Make sure that everything's safe, the area you work's cordoned off so the public are not passing through, especially if you're working above the public. Don't want anything falling onto the public, so it should all be cordoned off and signposted properly.
I would say it's probably the most important thing, because how can you expect someone to do the job if you haven't prepared them for it? If you don't make them aware of the problems and tell them how to avert them, how do you expect them to come on site and not have problems? So you've got to train them.
The initial induction on site is important. It's important that the operative listens and takes in, and if he doesn't understand, ask questions. And when he first gets to site, take the time, have a look round and make themselves aware of all the dangerous areas on site, the entrance and exits from site in an emergency. So all the things to do with health and safety.
Me personally, I'd have it in my mind the rest of my life if someone had a serious accident or died because of my own fault or my own stupidity.
And we won't tolerate people who don't take it seriously.
Building sites are dangerous places and you can't ever afford to relax.
Mostly common sense.
Thank you for taking time to watch this health and safety induction for the shop fitting and interior contracting sector. It has been designed as an induction tool to make you aware of the hazards associated with shop fitting and interior contracting. It does not, nor was it ever intended to represent in detail those hazards which are dealt with in specific training programs which are provided by the Shop Fitting Independent Training Forum. These include asbestos awareness, control of substances hazardous to health, fire safety awareness, hand-arm vibration, manual handling, and safe working at height. This is not an exhaustive list. If there's any doubt about these or other health and safety issues, you should consult your supervisor or your employer. Remember, you have an obligation to yourself and your colleagues to be safe at work. If in doubt,